everyone. What's up, buddy?
How you doing? I get to sit next to you
It's
on
exciting.
this one. I'm really pumped about it.
Because we have a guest. We have guests.
We have guests. We have guests in our home.
Yeah.
Well, not our home. Lou's home.
We're just freeloaders still.
He's still letting us use it.
Yeah.
Hi, Lou.
Yeah, we haven't monetized this yet. we actually owe more money now than we did before. But yeah, we have two guests, two individuals that work with us. And we're excited to have them on. I feel like it's like the Ethel and Lucy of the restaurant group. You can pick who is who.
Maybe you guys will figure it out afterwards.
Yeah.
And then you guys can write in and let us know.
You can let us know
who's Ethel and who's Lucy.
Yeah. But we have Beth and Tara with us.
That answer.
Do you?
I'm Lucy, for sure.
You guys definitely just ruined my introduction. We're going to keep going, though. We have Beth and Tara with us today. So welcome, ladies.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Tara's mortified.
Tara's like, I hate it. We woke Tara up for this. She's a little upset at us. She said you guys woke up the old white lady too early. So here we are.
If anyone has driven at night and the deer crosses the road and the eyes just get really big and white, this is currently what we're looking at with Beth and Tara.
And it wasn't because it was a long night out with these two.
Just remember, not many people watch this and even less listen to it. So you're good.
Okay.
Okay.
You're fine.
Perfect.
It's gonna be great.
We're gonna work with this.
Just my boss's boss, so it's cool.
But not here. No, here. We don't think of us that. We don't think of ourselves that way. Anyway, so you want to give us a little bit of an intro, Beth?
Oh, I get to go first? Mm-hmm. Okay, sure.
Your name's first.
I mean, it was a 50-50 shot there.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. So I've been in the industry since I was 15. I started off actually back of the house working at Brown's Chicken. I was a fry cook. It was great. Stayed in the industry, bartending on the side, always whatever. I did serving, bartending, expo, food prep, the whole 9 yards. But I didn't become career until I was 26. So I was actually teaching and I was bartending on the side just to supplement. And in the summers, because I had them off, I started managing at the restaurant. Like I would supervise for them. And I was like, I really like this. And so midway through the school year, they were ready to kill me. I was like, cool. I'm going to leave and I'm going to go do restaurants full time. So I left and that was kind of the start of it. And I've been in it ever since. Quickly climbed, I started as an AGM, did some private event stuff, which was awful. Don't recommend it. Moved into a GM role pretty quickly. And from there, I've just kind of kept climbing up.
And what do you do now? I
am an area director of operations for the 50/50.
There you go. Tara?
That's what we do. We just interview people that we work with.
Well,
Well, no, we work with cool people,
Mostly.
Fun people.
Come on, Tara. What you got for us?
Let's see. Okay, so as the old lady that's still in operations, I started off when I was 16. And I went to the restaurant that my entire family, basically all 9 of us had worked at, or actually 7 out of 9. 2 weren't worthy. And I started off as a prep girl. That was a title.
Prep
you were
girl?
a prep girl.
Got it.
So, and then I moved to a bus girl. That was also a title. You could still say bus girl. And then I did that all through high school. Yeah. And then moved up where I took a serving position when I was in school in New York. Came back, took another serving position when I was in college here in Rogers Park. Took a host position. And back then, if you were a great host and you were young and impressionable, they made you the manager.
Mm.
Oh, that's just
they just moved that forward. They're like, wait, we don't pay her a lot. She seems to be happy. We're just going to keep promoting her. Yeah, so that worked out well. And then I started to have a family at 22 and kind of took off from there, where there's one company I worked with on and off for 17 years, where I would leave periodically, come back. Worked in River North. I think I calculated it last year like 5 different times.
All right.
So, yeah, it's been crazy. So I've done everything from back of the house to front of the house, every position.
You sold weed for a little bit. That was
I didn't have to. I just, restaurants don't function without 3 drug dealers.
Well, like legalized weed, I should say.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I'm sorry.
You forgot about that part? You forgot about that one?
Yeah. Well, it sounded like an exciting thing to do. Like, oh, this is different. Let's go do that. Oh yeah, let's try.
We're talking about cannabis, not heroin and crack in the back.
No, that's for other places.
Yeah.
That's the back alley shit. But
Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
And that's okay.
And what do you do now?
I am the general manager of Westtown Bakery, Diner, Homestead, and Roots Pizza.
All right.
on Chicago Avenue.
You remember Kindergarten Cop? I just felt like, who is your daddy and what does he do? Trying to find the bad guy. But we got a exciting. I think it's an exciting topic this week. I think that you guys probably will attest better than I can. But what it's like to be, you for sure will. What it's like to be a woman in the industry, and kind of what it's been like, how it's changed, what you went through, what society's reckoning happened on the industry. So we're going to kind of take it from there. You guys go with that?
Yeah.
I mean, you're here, so.
I mean, we might as well.
You agreed to it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
agreed to it. Yeah.
Did I agree? I don't know.
I think
I got
you
a
did,
calendar
yeah.
invite.
You got a calendar invite, and I said show up, and you said
Sometimes
okay.
I read my emails. So
But yeah, basically, we just want to talk to you guys about what it was like being managers and working early 2000s as a woman, restaurant industry. I mean, predominantly in Chicago for the two of you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we kind of want to talk to you guys about. And we'll throw some lovely little questions your way and give us your honest opinion, feedback, anything.
I mean, you want to go hard right away, like his sexual harassment changed
No, we're not.
now
No.
until when I was 19.
We're not going that route.
Oh, okay.
We're not
Okay.
trying to
It's
get
definitely
canceled.
decreased.
Oh, okay. That's
Well, there you
great.
go.
Yeah.
I'm really happy
Yeah.
for us.
But
that
now
we-
on the flip side of that, I kind of miss the free compliments.
Oh,
I
God.
mean, so I
She's
mean,
not wrong there, actually. I
Tara's
used
the
to feel
one
really
Tara's
good
the
about
one that's going to
myself.
get us canceled. Jesus,
What
not
are
even
you
us.
talking about? This is exciting shit.
All right. Well,
People don't know what really happens.
well, that's the whole point of this episode, is to kind of get into it. Right. So first question off the bat, obviously I'm talking more about, well, I guess we can start when you were in an hourly position. Sexism was prevalent.
Yeah.
100%. Do you think that you were hired for the positions you were hired in hourly roles based on your look or your qualifications?
100%. I mean, I miss those days in some respects, to Tara's point. I mean, I was young, blonde, hot, and I had big tits, so it was great. So, yes, I mean, I was flat out told at multiple places that I worked that I was hired because of how I looked.
Yeah. We're going to have to put this on a channel that
They
you have to
told
like
you
pay
that?
for and subscribe.
Wait a
Jesus.
second. They said that shit to you?
Oh, God, yes. I will never forget this. So I had been working for a restaurant group for 10 years, and I had kind of climbed through the ranks with them. I had started as a server, bartender. Then I moved to the AGM role, and then I moved up to a GM position, and I kind of hit my ceiling because if you wanted to move to corporate at that time, your options were you were marketing or you were marketing. Like there wasn't any other positions available, at least not with that company, at the operations table. And so I left them to go work for a different company, and I was supposed to be in charge of their training. Find out the day that I showed up to do my paperwork that they were making me open their new restaurant. I was like, okay, that's a little bit of bait and switch, but sure. And at one point, it was a Sunday and none of my staff showed up because that's what happens, Murphy's Law. And I'm running around like a crazy person setting up the restaurant. And the corporate chef looked at me and he goes, "We hired you to be the tits and ass of this restaurant, not to be doing what you're doing." And I was like, wow. I was 30 years old. I was pissed.
You were 30?
I was 30. I was pissed. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I have not worked this hard to be told that.
Well then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Well,
I think
I can confidently
think we're
say I've
both-
never said that before as a chef. I just want to get that out there. I can't speak for this guy. Okay,
Same.
I can confidently say
Same.
that I have never said that.
I think it was. I want to jump to Tara real quick, but I think I never generally ventured into. I never was really exposed to it because I was in pastry. Because a lot of pastry people are female, so I was working with females and had female bosses from the time I started in my career. So I guess I never really, and one, it wasn't tolerated, nor should it be tolerated. And number two, I was never really exposed to that kind of. I mean, yeah, if you were in the kitchen and you would hear it and you would see it, but it was like never a normal conversation being had in the pastry kitchen, which was usually in the dungeon or on the second floor or somewhere not where the main kitchen.
A weird little closet.
Yeah, wherever they could find, because they were like, "Oh fuck, we forgot." Well, usually because they were like, "Oh
Back
fuck,
corner.
we forgot to put a pastry kitchen in, and we need desserts and bread." And like, "Oh,
Classic.
what are we? Where are we going to do?" So yeah,
Well, can I ask you a question?
you may.
Do you take direction well from women?
Yeah, I mean, I had female bosses. There was never really, I never really thought about it as I'm not going to listen to what you say because you are a female. Like that never really crossed my mind. I had female instructors who were chefs. I know a lot of chefs that are female badasses. I know a lot of managers and master somms that are badasses that run circles around men. So it was never really something that came to mind in terms of like, oh, because someone is female or male or whatever they identify as, that I wouldn't listen to what they had to say.
I think that's the.
Bring the microphone
Oh,
into you. There
This
we
guy
go.
moved.
Yeah. Well, don't touch everything. Just move it. There you go.
pick it up.
Just
Tara,
go.
just pick it up.
Just go
Tara,
close.
just pick it up, Tara.
Just go closer
I'm
towards
not that
it.
short.
Yeah. There you
There we
go.
go.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah. So
Now I
you don't have to hold
like
it. You
this,
don't have
but
to
it's
hold
not
it.
Doing
There-
what I want.
There you go. So going back to when you were in the industry, like take me through like those kinds of experiences. Obviously, you were in the industry a little bit earlier than Beth was.
And I mean, I got hired because my dad worked there at some point. And, it's an Italian thing.
I got-
you don't have a choice. You got to go to work now. You're 16. So that's the option. So,
I worked with my dad too, so I get it.
yeah. And I think, well, in restaurants for us, I'm lucky in the respect that I'm the youngest and I had a mom that worked. So that's a different financial setting. So we ate out a lot because there weren't a lot of kids at home. So it was, hey, we get to go eat. So growing up, we were always eating out.
Mhm.
We were always, so it was a natural, like, oh, this is what I enjoy. This is where family is. This is what you do. But I think you touched on something. I mean, I grew up in a kitchen with Italian speaking ladies yelling at me.
Mhm.
Not even, I mean, they loved on me, but they yelled at me. And I was compared to my brother all the time. Like, do you work as hard as your brother? Yeah. So, and I think that touches on what you said is girls have to work harder
Mhm.
because they have to work harder than boys. They have to prove themselves. It takes a longer trajectory. They're not necessarily taken seriously as quickly because it could be as simple as how they speak or if they're polite. I mean, it's the amount of time somebody's been, oh, you're a people pleaser. Well, yeah, that's literally my fucking job. Like, I make people happy for a living, changing lives. Like, it's called hospitality. So, like, what the fuck? It doesn't make me a doormat. But I think coming up, there's always, especially when you're trying to get promoted, women are more likely to have their personal lives used against them. If they're a mom, used against them. If they're single, that's an issue. And that's openly discussed. Whereas with men, that's not really discussed, I think, as, oh, hey, well, if you've got something going on at home, that's not a big deal. If I do, that's a big deal.
You think that's still prevalent now?
Yes.
You think it is?
She
I
answered
think
that
it's gotten-
real quick.
Yes,
I
you
think
did.
it's gotten better, but no, I definitely think it still is. I mean, I'll say this: one of the last restaurant groups that I worked with, and I was looking to grow with them. I'd been on and off with them for a couple different years, and I was flat out told by one of the owners, he's like, "Yeah, no, we're only promoting married men from this point on."
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at watching
laughing
Tara
at Tara.
With the
trying to
microphone?
fidget with the microphone.
Well,
You're fine where
I'm
you're
not
at.
gonna lie, I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, you're fine where you're at.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we can. If anything, just lean into it when you speak.
Hello.
There you go. Not creepily, but yes. Sorry to cut you off, Beth.
No, you're good. I'm used to it. No, I mean, I've been told that recently, within the last 4 or 5 years. So while I do think it's gotten better, it's definitely still a thing.
Interesting. But do you think that's just
Culture?
not necessarily? It could be culture, but it could be just whoever or whatever was going on in that restaurant group. Was it just they're older people and they just didn't change with the times, or was it people that were our age because we're all roughly the same age?
Oh my God. I'm so glad that was just recorded.
I'm
That
younger
is
than all
not
of you,
true.
so
I'm
I don't
making
wanna
that
hear
my
it.
I am
ringtone,
older than
just so
all
we're
of you.
clear.
I didn't want to age discriminate against anybody on
I don't
this
see that as
podcast.
age discrimination at this point. Like, now it's a badge of honor, which I just had this conversation.
Yeah.
Right. Like, HR wise, you're not allowed to talk about it, but I can talk about it. I can say it. I can put it out there.
So do you think it was more so because of the people that you were working with just didn't adapt to the times?
Yeah. I mean, they were career industry people that had grown up in it. They're
No.
well, hold on. Age-wise, they were a little bit older than I am, but not significantly. I mean, we're talking within 10 years.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was the industry they grew up in. They still held that mindset. And so, yeah, I don't think that they had necessarily evolved. I think it was also situational, right? Like, if you've got somebody that's working for you that's dipped out because they went to go start a family, it like automatically puts that in your head.
Mhm.
And to Tara's point, yeah, as women, like, you can be a man in this industry and you can go start a family and it's totally fine. They're still committed, but God forbid if we wanted to do it.
No, I think women are it's, oh, you've got something else. And it's not you should be at home taking care of your kids. It's there's that chance that you might call off because your kid got sick. And don't you know, oh, well, they had to call off last week because their kid was sick, or they had to leave because their kid was sick. And that's bullshit. Like, oh no, your kid got sick. Like now we live in this different time period where, you know, people call off because they need a mental health day, which I get it. I would like a couple of those. But we grew up in an industry where that wasn't allowed.
Yeah.
You know, that then you're weak. And so now you see this shift where the younger people, I think, are driving that, like, where they need breaks and they're not wrong. I worked really hard for the next generation to have that. Because we've all had those moments where you're on like a 13-hour day and you're like, fuck this. Like, I'm fucking worn out, man. So I'm glad they're assertive. Same with the women. But I do think it still exists.
100%.
That it's like, oh, well, you know, and it could be something as simple as school or another job, you know, and it's like, I think you can do both, man. Like you've proven, you've gone to school and been a GM.
I have.
Yeah.
6 properties.
So why not be a better industry and be more maternal about it and say like, hey, we'll work around that.
I mean, the world would be a better place if women ran in. I'm just saying, guys.
Well, I think that
I'm not saying it. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not.
I feel like we're just.
I'm not getting trapped today.
Well, and I think it's also it's the forgiving aspect.
Of course I am.
It's I'm deemed as a pushover if I'm considering somebody's like what's going on in their life.
Sure.
And it's like, well, no, this person's valuable on this. Everybody has a place. If you look at a big picture, big team, does it suck for you sometimes when they call off or shit hits the fan? Yeah, of course it does. But that's we're all great at pivoting and moving pieces around.
Yeah.
That's part of it. So I'm not going to write somebody off. Now, 20 years ago, would I have known? Would it have been ingrained to me to know because I was afraid of getting in trouble maybe with my boss? I mean, and it's like when somebody wants to challenge me to fire people. Like, I don't. Oh, does that make me weak? Like, that's not a. You know, nobody's gonna respect you more because you fire 2 people. You just ruined 2 people's lives. Be accountable. You hired them. Take responsibility. That's a very different.
What if you didn't hire them though? What if you inherited them?
I just think people should be more thoughtful about.
I'm
like if you're going to judge me because I'm not. I mean, we're back to the girl problem. Well, like, are they going to say that to Christo?
No, of course not. It's a complete. Well, but to that point, it's a completely different set of expectations.
That's not recent. That's like my whole career.
Correct.
It's like, oh well, Tara's so fucking nice. It's like, actually, I'm a little nuts. Like, no,
I can
we know.
Like, well,
but nuts in the best way.
That's a conversation that's acceptable with a woman, but not with men that we work with.
Sure.
And I don't think that's just this industry. I think that's prevalent in most industries.
While I ask the next question, would you mind just tilting in your mic? No,
right
just
there?
The whole thing. There you go, like that. Now talk.
Better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
This episode's full of edits and corrections throughout the process, and we're not editing.
Christo, apologies now.
No, this is real life.
I'll work on the bags.
People want to see the real chaos in the industry.
Put some lipstick.
What I was going to ask was, do you think? Yes. So coming up to the ranks was very challenging because you were held to a different standard. Do you think you were held to that standard more so by other women who had gone through it, or men? You think yes?
Women, and I speak to this a lot the last few years. I think it's women. Unfortunately, have to make a choice. Oh, am I going to be nice? Am I going to be like a mommy? Or am I going to be like a man and be aggressive? And, you know, those two don't need to be separate. But I think Beth and I personally have worked with a lot of women that choose that very aggressive role, and it doesn't work necessarily. Or it works, I guess, in some situations.
And I would disagree with you because I've had.
It's really hard not to say names.
I know it is.
Please do not say anyone's name.
I'm not trying to get anybody fucking pinched. All right.
I've had some really good female mentors growing up in this industry that weren't necessarily that way, but I've had the conversation recently, and Tara and I talk about this a lot. I was much nicer when I first started out. Mm-hmm. I've hardened myself because you kind of have to. And to Tara's point, as you continue to climb the ladder, there's that level, you got to check your emotions because if you get too emotional, God forbid, and it's, if you swear too much, it's everything. Yeah. You're put under a microscope more than if you're a man doing the same exact job.
Sure.
Well, and I think I'm on I've aged. There's something's changed in me.
You've gotten nicer, you think, with time?
I think I'm definitely more understanding. I'm less worried about, but I have that behind me now where I'm on the end of things.
Right.
So my choices are, can I live with this decision
Sure.
for myself and for whoever I'm working for?
Got it.
Like can I go to bed at night and not feel like I was an asshole that day? Does that make sense?
I mean, I can go to bed at night sometimes understanding I was an asshole and I'm cool.
My
with
moral compass might be a little.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think that. I mean,
Someone's got a moral compass and
Yeah.
someone doesn't.
okay, but to be
We gotta
fair,
get in a
I mean,
fight.
like, I think there's accountability, and I'm cool with accountability. And if I've given you the expectations and you have not delivered on it, and I've coached you and tried to develop you on it, and you're still not doing it, then yeah, I'm going to be an asshole, and I'm not going to feel bad about it because I gave you everything you needed.
That sentence right there. What if you're not being an asshole? You're just holding somebody accountable.
Well, correct, but
She's saying there's a way to do it without being an asshole.
no,
But sometimes
even
it's
how
fun to be
she
an
says
asshole.
Well, but
it.
see, there's the difference. You just said it's fun to do it.
sometimes it is.
Where she's saying
You're
that
not, if you were speaking to the same topic as a guy, you wouldn't say it. You wouldn't be like, oh, well, maybe that makes me an asshole. Well, actually, you're nice. You might.
I have been, but
He's an asshole.
I am an asshole.
I don't think you're an
I will
asshole.
say that yes,
I don't think he's an asshole.
now,
It depends on the day.
Well, we can go into this topic of discussion later.
Where the moon is it retrograde or whatever, Gatorade or whatever it's called? Where are we at?
I think there is a way in which, like, if we're firing somebody, right? This is one of the misconceptions. Firing should take no more than 2 minutes, and it needs to be non-emotional. It needs to be
correct
to the point. Like, you are not performing to the standards that we need you to have. Have a nice day. We wish you nothing but the best.
Yeah,
I think there's a difference between that, and there's a difference between. And I fell into this trap when we talked about this on another episode, where I came in guns blazing and literally was an asshole for the sake of being an asshole because I thought that people would respond to that.
Yes.
And they don't.
No.
correct.
They don't in certain situations, and they don't, I think, in certain environments. I think that fine dining, that was the expectation that we had, and you kind of bit your tongue and you moved on with your day. But again, there was always that level of respect one had.
I think
for lack of a
anybody
better
that's
word.
in
Because
this
it's a
industry, though, you
power.
have to have empathy because
100%.
what we do, I mean, Tara always talks about the family aspect of it. And, she's right. I mean, we spend so much time with each other. You have to have empathy towards one another. And you can still hold people accountable. And some people probably still think you're an asshole, but,
I think you.
Well, and it's that double-sided coin of you're going to be judged more harshly.
yes, always.
So you think
Back to that.
you're saying if I fired somebody and Beth fired two different people for the same cause, I'm going to be judged harshly less because I'm a man?
Let me rephrase this. It's more, what if you chose not to fire them and why?
I'm saying it's all things equal. They need to be fired for doing the same exact thing.
I think the question would be posed more towards me. What did you do to coach them, develop them before you got to that point?
Where you're saying that there's a pass because I am a man, that if I fired them, that I would be in the
Correct.
right no matter what.
Correct. And we have to justify the reasons behind why we're doing things more.
Got it. Well, that's interesting. I never thought about it in that aspect of your emotions and thought process are much more questioned in terms of me going off the rails is just like, oh, he's being an asshole. You going off the rails is that she's probably got something going on at home. She's emotional. Is she fit to do this job?
Is she
Yes.
PMSing? Let's be real.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I've actually been asked that too.
It's the emotional aspect.
Yeah.
Which I'm at the point
Like
now
recently?
God, I
can't
hope
answer
not.
that. I mean, by
not
me?
recently, not with where we're currently at, but in the past, yeah, at other companies, I've been written off for that. She's just having a moment. Give her a week and she'll be fine.
So along those same lines, what were some of your first experiences being GMs?
Okay, so I'll take this one to start. Like I said, I went from being an AGM, and 3 months later, I was given my own store. And I had been in the industry since I was 15. So I'd been in the industry for a decade at this point. But I hadn't been in management. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was like, oh my God, they're trusting me with the restaurant? Cool. So a lot of it was, very empathetic towards and I was managing people that were a lot older than me because I was 25 years old. So it was, it was being very empathetic, listening, asking a lot of questions, and a lot of praying that I didn't fuck it up.
Your boy JC.
Well, and you came up in more corporate restaurants.
Yeah, I did. I mean, when the one group that I was working for when I first started with them, they were still kind of like on the cusp of blowing up. But by the time I had moved into management, we had over 20 something properties. And that was the first group that I worked with. And then, yeah, most of the places that I've worked have been corporate.
Well, you want to tell us about your experiences in the Wild West, Tara?
Well, that's just, I started out with family restaurants. And so I had left and to be a server simply because I had to pay bills, where it was like, well, this isn't working. I need money. And I mean, for me, it was beneficial in the respect that there's a level of humility that comes in being in service. And I think we've all had to have those conversations. It's like, oh, well, you're not going to be the manager. You're just a server. And for me, it was actually empowering to leave a couple times and be like, no, like I'm going to train the new managers as their employee and then to go back. But I was lucky that I had some accounting experience as a young woman in a corporate restaurant, that then when I went back to full service restaurants, I used that. I piggybacked it on to a GM role, which I don't think people always understand what a GM role is, where it is heavy accounting and admin. It's not just operations. I mean, the role that it used to be, where it was mostly that and less on the floor, has kind of dripped away, I think, in this industry as a whole since the pandemic. But for me, what was interesting is I left full service and went to quick serve, or what's called fast casual now, simply because it was a better schedule for my children. Which financially it maybe wasn't the smartest move, and I was criticized for it wasn't the cool restaurants, but systems wise, it was great. Where you learn that structure at a very high level, where you don't get the ego or you don't get the props to be like, oh, I worked in these fancy restaurants, but going to soccer was more important.
I mean, I think though
and I never would have been able to be at that when the kids were that age. That never would have been like. And that age. Well, you can't do that job because you have the kids. You want to make it to soccer, or
Which one played soccer?
They both did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they both played full-time sports. Probably since 5. They're both very athletic. Yeah, they're hustlers.
They earned it, honestly.
Ethan's a state-ranked lacrosse player.
He is.
Paige is a state-ranked cross-country runner. Yeah.
Proud mama moment.
I am. Yeah, that's my proud mama moment. They both got good grades too.
There you go.
They're very intelligent.
Well, was there a fear? Did you have a fear of like, I want to start a family, like I want to have kids, and juggling that between like?
I'm sorry. Let's talk about. I was 22 when I had my son. Okay.
So you got to say something, or we're gonna have a dead clip.
No, it was. I was lucky at that point that I worked for a restaurant group that was very open-minded. They weren't as judgmental about single parents necessarily. I didn't have that fear that, oh no, like even though Todd and I have a good relationship, when you're young like that, everything's heated and rocky and crazy. And I was lucky that I was in a good environment I felt that support. But I had to drop career aspirations as far as, okay, well, that's what you're doing now. Now you're that's a label. Now you're a single parent, and you're young. So you fucked up somewhere. Well, not the guy, you did.
But I'll say this, on the flip side of it, I always got it where if you want to keep growing within your career, you can't do both. And I didn't just get that from the industry. I got that from my family.
Oh, yeah.
Like my mom, I will never forget this. There was a point where her and I had the conversation and I'm like, cool, well, I haven't met Mr. Right. We're just going to do this. And my mom's like, are you out of your mind? Like, do you know what that entails? She's like, you're crazy. You can't. Do you know how many hours you work? It's never going to happen. So.
Well, and I think we don't talk about that enough. These are long hours for all of us.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is a life commitment.
It's a lifestyle. I mean, it's like, and that's what most people don't understand if you haven't worked in the industry is, it's all encompassing and you can leave for the day and go home. But if you're in any sort of management position or leadership position, it's like your phone goes off and you're taking that call. There's no such thing as
it's only now that I'm comfortable going like, no, I'm good.
Well, I've learned what you can ignore because of experience. Like, okay, this is not actually a 911 and this can wait until tomorrow.
Always a 911, Beth.
Well, for somebody.
Always a 911.
For somebody, not for me.
That was something that when I graduated college, our commencement speaker, he was obviously addressing the audience, and he said that as much as we sacrifice, we're of service to others, right? That's the hospitality industry. That the biggest sacrifice is not us. The biggest sacrifice in the industry that we have is the families of the people that work in the industry. It's just like, the medical field or things like that. Like your birthdays are irrelevant. Their birthdays are irrelevant to a certain extent. Holidays don't exist, but you had little kids.
Well, and that's just it. As a female, well, why do you have that job? The amount of times I had family people say, or even restaurant people say, like, well, what are you doing? You should have a 9-to-5 job. Mm-hmm. Well, I suck at that. I'm not good at a 9-to-5 job. I'm not like,
I could never see you in a 9-to-5, like,
like Mrs. Huygens from Carol Burnett. Like, I mean, seriously, what that, like, I was terrible. I tried. I left I opened up a restaurant and then my mom passed away and I had one of those moments and I went to be a church secretary. Not even my church, my sister's church. And I got the work done in about 2 hours and then I chain smoked the rest of the day. Like, it was like, and I hung out with little old ladies that like hid teapots and like had gossip. And I mean, it was enlightening. And I was told how lucky I am. How lucky are you as a single parent? It's so nice that you have this job. Like, really? I don't think you understand what I do for a living. I change lives.
How long did you do that for?
I think I lasted a year and then I went back. That I was like, okay, enough of this. I proved I'm a great mom. There's nothing left to do now. Like, let's go. But that's a normal conversation for me where it's like, well, you're going to I don't think that's ever been said to my exes. I don't think that was ever like, oh, you're a bad parent because you have to work late. Well, no, you have to work late because you have to pay the bills. Well, I paid the bills. So why isn't that supported? Mm-hmm. I'm not, and please don't misunderstand, I'm not resentful. I'm on the other side of things now where it's like, but I was then, where it's like, would you say that to my brother who also works, ridiculous hours? Like, no. He also has a wife. They have wives. My sister-in-law put it really well once where she explained to my brothers, like, Tara doesn't have a wife. Like, there's nobody at home to get the house clean and do the chores. It's all on me. Like that. And it sucks that wife is the term, but assistant, whatever. I don't have a wife. It makes things a little harder.
I'll say this because I left the industry after I finally graduated because I had gone back later. And the big push for that was my family telling me like, oh, you need structure. You need a 9-to-5 job. You need to have normalcy. You need to get married and have babies and do all of those things. So I took an office manager job myself, and it
terrible.
It was awful. But the funniest thing is like to Tara's point, like once you've done this job, you do so many things all the time, right?
20 pounds.
Well, I didn't actually. That was the one cool thing because I actually had time to work out on a regular basis. But
I also had nothing to eat. Like
I was good. I made lunches.
I was hungry all the time,
but it was boring as hell. I mean, like the first month. They were still doing handwritten ledgers, so I was like, "Wow, okay." So I had a project for the first couple months.
That still exists in the restaurant industry.
It does, but once that was flipped, and I had taken them into the early 2020s, I didn't have shit to do. I was like, "Cool, you don't need a full-time person for this job," and the owner was like, "No, we definitely do," and I was like, "No, you definitely don't."
Well, I think that's the thing is that people leave the industry and come back. It's like if you're made for it, you're made for it. You have the itch, right? There's no taking that away. Like I don't know what else I would do for a living. I can't imagine not doing this for a living.
I mean, I've thought about it.
Well, that's how I know when people miss me. When they're like, you work too much. So I just invite them to our things.
There you go.
Like, you want to see me? Come on over. I've gotten better where like when people visit, I'll sit down now. Whereas sometimes I can't, but I try. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. Because you're not going to see me outside this place.
It's true.
But on that note, too, one of the reasons, like when the kids were little, like they eat very well, partly because my family eats very well. Like I come from great cooks and great restaurant choosers. We dine well. But that was the other factor. And I was called out on this. This was 20 years ago by my GM at the time. And he was like, you know what I noticed about you? You really like to eat here. But it fed my family like at a high level that I'm lucky that we always had this great food around us. They're smarter for it. And this is, I'm going back before Chicago was cool. I think we've all come up in this time period where these great chefs that we've worked with that are coming out of the city when it's cool to be in restaurants now. I was sat down at 19 while I'm hauling ass and, doing a great job. And my brother literally said, like, this is a circus and you're not supposed to be here. Like, you got to go. And I'm like, yeah, but it's a cool circus. Like, I like it. It's different. Has all these different kinds of people and it's wild. And he was like, no, man, mom and dad are going to kick your ass. Like, you can't do this.
Yeah. Well, it's the one industry. I mean, there are others, but I think this is probably the top. It's the one industry that anybody from anywhere can work, no matter what your education, no matter your background, no matter your upbringing, no matter whatever the variables are in the outside world. If you work hard and want to learn and are okay giving yourself to the service of others, like, it's there, right? And we become kind of like a band of misfit toys. Yep. That's how I easily compare the restaurant industry. It's like, remember that Christmas movie? It was like, I can't remember what it's called, but it was like
it was Rudolph. It was before Rudolph came in, and there's a little snowman talking, and they go to it was like all the toys that were like rejected, and they all kind of like band together.
Yeah,
and
I liked that.
So that's
well, and I'm also so I have older relatives that remember when you were going to go eat out in a nice restaurant, you went to a hotel. Like, Chicago didn't have what it has now. Like,
you went to the London House, so you went to
that didn't exist. You went to the Ritz-Carlton. You went to the Palmer House.
The Drake.
You went to the Drake.
Yeah.
And that mindset, that's where the nice fancy restaurants are. We have this experience where you can go to fancy restaurants as a regular person now.
Sure.
What would be mind blown, like, we have so much access because of what has changed, which I'm very thankful for. I'm thankful to the Stephanie Izards and the Rick Baylesses of the world that just said, fuck it, let's go balls to the wall. Now it's cool. It's also more accessible.
Yeah.
To piggyback on, what you said about misfit toys, what I tell young people is, hey, like, if you move to a new city and you don't have any friends, like, go serve even if you suck, you'll make some friends.
Short-lived career.
And it's good for your personality. Like, it's good to have to eat a little crow sometimes and realize and push through things. And that's a life lesson. Yeah. That only this industry can provide. Right. Now I think we're on the other side of things, where not that food isn't still great and cool. I still get those questions. But I mean, just even a couple weeks ago, somebody was like, can you go work in a fine dining restaurant like the Bear? I'm like, no, I don't want to get screamed at anymore. I don't want to cry at work in the cooler. I've done that already.
Where'd you do that?
No name dropping. So
I just cry like right in front of my boss.
It's
like,
super
I just let it go.
It's super uncomfortable.
Yeah. I'm aware.
So I would say
just don't say I'm emotional.
I would venture to believe that in our restaurant group, you both among with other women in our company are kind of role models for people that are coming up through the ranks, that are starting with us or that are new managers for the first time, which is, kudos to you. Hats off. I don't have a hat on. Otherwise I would. There you go. Who are some of your role models? Because I will tell you that when I was in school, we had a class in gastronomy, which is all about the industry. And like the list of female chefs that were talked about opposed to the list of male chefs that were talked about was like night and day.
Like smaller?
Oh, 100%.
There was like 3.
Did you really have to ask that question?
Yeah.
Like, was that a real question?
I mean, you learned about like
Tara. Do you know what we've been talking about today? Do you understand?
I mean, we talked about
the chefs I love in Chicago are all women.
Right. But remember, now we're talking about when I was going to college. It was
I married one. I mean, I still like
early 2000s. Like you learned about Julia Childs. Mm-hmm. You learned about Alice Water, and if you were learning about other female chefs, they were all pretty much pastry chefs. So yeah, who were some of your role models that you kind of had that took you under your wing, or there's someone that you aspired to be like that you maybe never even met?
So when I was working for the first restaurant group, like when I made that decision to make this my career, one of the best people in the world, I still talk to her to this day, Lisa Mango. She was awesome.
Are you allowed to say names right now?
But I
For the
asked
good
her
stuff,
that.
for the
Yeah.
good stuff, for the good stuff, you are.
But, I
She
mean,
asked.
she was a badass. I mean, she was somebody who had come up in the industry. She was a sommelier. Her knowledge was just unparalleled. But outside of that, like she was kind. Like I had people that, had taught us about wine, and it was like they shamed you if you couldn't smell the bouquet on it and tell you exactly what you were smelling. Where Lisa's approach to everything was basically looking at the lowest common denominator and making it something that was approachable and something you were comfortable with. And I will never forget this because she would take us to wine tastings around the city. Got some great stories. I love Frenchmen. Shout out.
That's the podcast After Dark.
But, and it was great because she was so well known in the industry. Like they would have the hidden bottles under the table and they'd pull them out. And I'm like in awe, just sitting there like, oh my God, I get to try this. This is so cool. But she never had that air of arrogance about her. Like she was just a badass. And she was so kind to me, and she's still somebody to this day that I talk to because she always had the best advice to give, and she was inspiring.
Tara?
You can say me, it's cool.
Are we going to talk about that?
We should.
Yeah, we could talk about how the way you two met as well after this.
All right.
This one night.
This one night at Restaurant Land.
And Tara, if you didn't have anybody, that's
No,
fine.
I did. I actually am really lucky in the respect that, but what I look for, I think, is a little different. Where I was very young and my owners had girlfriends and they were fun and they were different. And they didn't judge people. And I mean, I was probably 19, 20, and Deborah Jordan, she was a badass. Like, took no shit, but was kind at the same point, hustled. And that's I think the difference is she hustled. Like she worked hard would walk in a room, own it, run the ship, give solid advice, didn't slack, wasn't like that guy in the back that's like, well, you need to be doing A, B, and C, and here's a bunch of things to do. No, she dug in. And because I was young and worked under her, it made me more compassionate, made me more understanding. She also taught me how to be nice to my kitchens. As a little white girl, I didn't speak any Spanish. I didn't know how hard they work. I didn't know how to take care of them. And she really dug in with me on that. Like, no, you got to be aware of what's going on back there, even if it means you go back there, which is crazy. And at that time period, I mean, we're talking like this is, 93, 94, to have a woman that is in a position of power in a family restaurant that isn't necessarily married to the game. Like it was different. And for me, it gave me that acceptance level. Like you don't judge people on what's going on in their situation. I think she's left the industry, but she's a powerhouse. She built that. She definitely helped build that company.
Nice.
Like they're good people. They are. They're screamers, but it was fun. With that said though, like not even a woman, but through that foundation, which I think about a lot lately because it's kind of come full circle with where we're all at right now, they were very conscientious of being responsible for their teams, that these are people we employ. And I've been lucky that to tie in like working for Stephanie Izard, who's just a fucking badass. Like she's smart, sees the big picture, she's energetic, she's brilliant, but she's conscientious of the fact of I am responsible for my people. She thinks it hardcore. She doesn't look at it like, okay, it's a moneymaker. It's like, no, these are my people. I got to take care of them, which is amazing. That would be my later career. She's one of my favorite people I think I've ever worked for.
I'm taking offense to that right now.
I have actually cited, like I've run into a couple of your old bosses and I have 5 people that work as hard as you do. Stephanie would be one of them. You're one of them.
Thank you.
It's just, you don't see it a lot. You see a lot of people get to your level and then kind of go, oh, okay, I'm going to work this like coasty cookie schedule. But that's not afforded to us anymore post pandemic anyway. I don't think anybody gets that.
I don't think I've ever had that. Like I know
I've
it
worked
exists,
for people,
but
I've worked for people who have it.
I've never had that.
That like, okay, it's 3. I'm done expedite. I'm going to go dip and go to the bar.
I miss those days.
Yeah. You're going to stay
I
here
never
and
got
run
to
the
see those
show.
days.
No, I didn't
Good
either.
fucking luck.
I never got to see those days. I would just drink during the shift. I didn't do that. I
That's
swear.
That was
different
encouraged.
issue.
That used to be encouraged. Now it's like, oh no. Now
It was the after shift. Like everybody ponied up at the
Oh, no.
bar.
No,
No,
I'm talking about during.
Tara's
We were
like-
talking about during the
No,
shift.
this
Tara's
was
like,
during-
oh, it's noon. Like,
No.
let's go.
Yeah, 20 years ago, it was like if we keep them intoxicated, they won't realize we pay them nothing. And the price of liquor is cheaper than paying them.
That's fair.
That's fucked up to think about.
Yeah, really. So along of lines of being role models for the people that work for us now, what is some advice that you would give anybody that wants to think about doing this?
We asked this question to a lot of industry
Right.
folk.
But more so, I want to gear it toward, because the topic of discussion has been women in the industry.
Well, and I think, I mean, you've brought this up a couple times, the service to others. I think people don't talk about that enough. Like hospitality, it involves humility. And you have to be humble to go to a table.
Mm-hmm.
And we've moved as this hierarchy, even our owners or somebody in a position of power needs to be able to do that and have that humility that goes along with I'm giving somebody something unconditionally. You know, food is what ties us together, but it's the simple act. It's the simple act of, you know, taking care of somebody else, taking care of another human being. So for people going into this industry, if it'll teach you that, but you have to be open to that. It's not, is it a money grab for some? Yeah. I mean, not so much now, I think.
Definitely not now.
Well,
I definitely like.
it potentially could be still for servers and bartenders. Like, I still think it's a money. I'm not saying that they're
There's
greedy
money
about
to be
There's
made.
money to be made.
There's money to
correct.
be
Yeah.
made. I think we just are in a restructuring.
Yeah, I think I always tell anyone that is on the service team, like if you're a server or bartender or whatever you do in the front of the house, like think of your tables as you're a landlord, right? So your goal is your object is to get as much rent from them as you can. You know, if you only have 4 turbos, let's just say you're not pooling, right? Let's just say you're a server in a whatever, and they don't tip pool. You have 4 table, your 4 table section. You still need to give good service, but did you upsell them? Did you get them a second glass of wine? Did you get them more cocktails right after they were finished? Is their water half full and you're filling it up again? So think of the things like that in terms of, yes, it can be a money maker if you're good.
Yeah, I mean, I think yes, I agree with you on that. I mean, for me, coming into this industry, if I'm,
well,
I had this
think
conversation.
It's a different.
Well, no, I had
As a manager now, it's a different lay of the land in the respect pandemic. A lot of people left. I thought, I don't know, renegade. Oh, I'm going to go back and change.
No, but like even outside of that, like I had this conversation recently. So I had an employer of ours who started off with us as, you know, a dishwasher, grew into, you know, a support position, then grew into a serving position, and approached me a couple of weeks ago and was like, I'm thinking about management. And I was like, why? You know, and it's all kidding aside. I mean, I obviously love what I do or I wouldn't do it. You can't do this job and not love it. But it's, you know, having that real conversation with them and just saying like, do you want a family? Mm-hmm. You know, do you want to be present for the big moments in life? Because you're going to have to give some of that up. Like that's just not going to happen. You
don't think we can change as operators and maybe let them go to their family?
I don't think anytime soon. But I also
maybe that's on
there's
us.
a level of competitive.
Just thinking about it, maybe.
There's a level
an
of
idea.
competitiveness that comes with it too, and I think that, you know, to your point, like everybody that works in this industry is very hardworking. Like you don't have a choice because that's just what the industry is. But there's also like that level of like adrenaline rush at an end of like a really good shift. Mm-hmm. Like even if things went sideways, if you got through it and you accomplished it and you're like, yeah, man, we did that. And it feels good. And it's part of the reason why you can't leave the industry. Because you go to another job and you don't get that same sense of satisfaction.
Have you given up that it's achievable to have both? Like we've talked about how it's been.
Have I given up on it? No, I will never give up on it. I will always fight for it. Do I think it's going to change anytime soon? No.
Aren't we the people that change that?
I'm working on it.
Okay, I'm trying here.
So am I.
But I think it starts with that. Like, why can't we
Yeah.
have managers that have children and a life and want to go see plays and shit? Like, they should be able to go do all the stuff they want to do.
It's too late for you, Tara.
No, I'm moving into the time period where I'm like, hey, man, I got to disappear for a month and go walk through Spain.
Yeah. And this is where Tara's dreams to win a Tony Award just immediately busted.
I mean, that's just it, though, is that I don't want to give up. That's not it. Like, if somebody's coming to us and is like, oh, we have to tell them, like, no, you don't get a family. Like, go meet Tara. Like, no, like, it shouldn't be that way.
I think that but I do think it needs to be a realistic conversation. Like, I think if you're looking at the industry for what it still is at this point in time, that is a realistic piece of it. And I'm, you know me, I'm pretty open, honest, and direct.
No.
I've been told maybe a little too much so, but I do think that is something that needs to be pointed out. And I think it's something that a lot of people neglect or don't think about. That, like, this is going to have an impact on you. And I'm not saying you can't do both.
We're also still in the mode of you have to prove yourself first,
100%.
and then we'll give you the goodies.
Yeah.
Then you get, like...
Well, sometimes. I'm still waiting for the goodies.
Do you disagree with that mentality?
That you have to prove yourself I think you have to do that in any job.
Got it.
That you have to...
Right, but do you have to prove yourself to get time off?
That's what I'm saying. Like, why would you... Like, I want to get away from that. Like, do I feel that way? That I've had... Yeah, if my job's not done, I don't get my time off. Like, I see it the opposite, where it's like, well, if I'm not done working, then that's not healthy either, though.
Sure.
I wouldn't recommend that.
10 out of 10 would not recommend.
I think all four of us are in that boat.
Well, and that's just it. I am now very honest about that, where it's like, hey, I don't have my shit done, but I'm also in a different place in life.
Right.
So at the back, I'm not trying to. I know this is okay. This is it.
Right.
This is it for me. I really like this place and I genuinely do. That it's like, oh, I don't mind making those sacrifices to a point, but I've also screwed up and put work first, and that's not healthy either. So why I want our employees to not be me in that respect. Yes, you should be driven. Yes, you should want to do a great job. Yes, you should prove to me that you're worthy of my graces. But at the same point, what's the balance?
Right. It was interesting. I was actually just having this conversation with Caitlin, who has been working for me for 8 years, and we love Caitlin. Was married last year. Shout out to Caitlin.
Yay, Caitlin!
She has not listened to an episode, so she will not know what we're talking about her.
Doesn't support us, so whatever, Caitlin.
She does.
Yeah.
She does.
So
she's
been working with me for 8 years. It's kind of like.
Can I say work wife, or are we not allowed to discuss those kind of? We should talk about that.
She's like more my little sister. Like, I watch out for her.
Okay, all right.
Make sure she doesn't make poor life choices that I made in life.
Then you have.
I think you made great. They were all great choices.
She has a good job and she is married. She's already leaps and bounds. Most people are, but she's trying for a family, right? And her thing to me was, do I have to look for a new job? And I said,
yeah, that's how we think.
Why would you do that? And she goes, well, how am I going to do this and have a family? And I said, well, we'll figure it out. Like, we don't want to lose you as a good employee because you're thinking about another part of your life, which is equally important to you.
We can figure that out.
Right. So that's what I was telling you. I was like, you don't.
Like, what if it was somebody that
Tara on the case?
But wait, hold on.
Tara,
I'm going to jump in here for a second, because here's the interesting thing about that, Tex.
Right.
Is if Caitlin was a man,
sure,
she would never even ask that question.
Sure, I'm not disputing that case, but what we're saying,
does that man have a wife at home?
Of course he does.
Okay.
But
maybe.
Do you know the president of the United States has somebody that sets out his suits and everything? He never has to get up in the morning and spend 10 minutes to choose what he's wearing.
How is that relevant?
That
is relevant because when you have a partner that's like setting out your shoes, and you can remain focused on the job at hand.
Well, good thing I just have to go in the closet and grab a black t-shirt.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I got a wife at home, and this just did not happen.
Well, okay. Well, the president has an assistant. I don't.
I need
You need a work wife.
Yeah, we can afford one.
We need an assistant.
That's why you need a work wife. work wife too. You need one at work.
Caitlin doesn't put up my clothes either. So.
I mean, I don't necessarily have a work
She takes
life.
care of it. Like,
No, she
But I heard that two of
purposely
you-
puts my tools outside in the alley. She's like, maybe he won't find his way back into the kitchen. But yeah, I think that you shouldn't have to choose. I 100% agree. But and to your point, yes, that's the first thought process. But to Tara's point, we should be embracing the idea that people don't want to be like us. Like I will say 110% that currently most of my life, my adult life, has been consumed with my career.
Of course.
I don't regret that. But it's also I've had to make sacrifices in terms of that. Like what I do outside of work, but I know I'm an individual that is successful in what I do. I get to make an impact on people, and in a restaurant group, I've got to do things outside of work that are industry related, but there was 110% sacrifice that, I don't live by anyone. I don't live by my family, right? Everyone is back home.
yeah.
My work, people that I work with are my family. And so you have to be okay with that too. And one thing, like in terms of this industry, is like you will spend more time with the people that you work with than you will with your family. And so, and you will argue with them, and you will hate them at times, and you will enjoy to be around the company.
I've had all of those emotions for all of you. So yes, I get that.
I'm perfect, Beth, and you know it.
Christo.
Longest pause ever.
Why was there silence there, guys?
Christo,
That's some
Christo.
bullshit.
I have to think about that. I can have two thoughts in my head at once.
No, but Tex, to your point, I'm not saying that we shouldn't work on changing it, because I do think that that's the only way. It's
That was
gonna
my
get
point,
better.
What's your point?
Whoever's
Why
point
are you
it
giving
was.
the man the
Like,
credit?
well,
Beth? Why are you
here's the
giving the
thing.
man the
I
credit?
I worked really hard, and I'm very proud to see. But it's annoying when it's like, oh well, I need this, or I need a better industry
What
for that.
are your thoughts then on like holidays? Working holidays, like if it's New Year's Eve.
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up, because
I know, that's why I'm the host of a podcast.
like I've worked every New Year's Eve. Wouldn't even understand like having plans on if I was off on a New Year's Eve, I'm going to bed. Like,
She's not even watching the damn ball drop.
I don't give a shit about that. I'm
Right.
like, wow, I'm tired. I'm going to lay down on the couch.
She's like, wow, I've made it to 2025.
Yeah, right. Well, and maybe that's unhealthy. I don't know. But holidays like Christmas Eve,
Sure.
Christmas, all those things were somebody, a good friend of mine just took a job where the restaurant's in a hotel.
Sure.
And that was he's working 3 days a week. He's making fire money, throwing it in my face. Like, you could have 4 days off. Woo. And the holiday thing, he's like, yeah, but I might have to work Christmas.
Yeah.
But and that one, I was like, really? I'm like, you know what? That I can't, that I don't want to do anymore at this age.
Yeah.
I don't think, I've been lucky that we work for companies that are typically closed on that day.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to open on a Thanksgiving, it's like, come on.
Well, we open on Thanksgiving at the bakery, Tara.
That sucks.
I've done it for the past 8 years.
Silence
I don't.
went over the
I know. I don't.
Oh, that's right. It's the daytime pie thing, right?
It's the daytime pie. I don't.
Oh, we have bosses that are going to help out with that. They
Well,
helped me last year.
Sure,
They'll help.
and yes, Scott,
I'll commit them
Scott
now.
always comes in and hangs out with us. And
That's nice.
to be fair, it's
That's
the day
not a
that
full
I
day.
To be fair, it's a day that I usually have a mug of coffee, and I usually pour Baileys. I usually go through about half a bottle of Baileys in that morning.
We've
Okay,
switched
you
the
gotta
game
stop
in where
admitting
we go
certain
to we
What
go
is
out
it?
to eat
It's
on
like, you gotta
Thanksgiving
stop
now
admitting certain things.
What's
So
the
if
matter
you-
with drinking Baileys on a holiday?
because it's work. We work in a weird
It's
industry.
Bailey's, my guy. Like, drink something else.
What am I going to drink at 6 a.m?
I don't
Gin?
know.
There's people out there.
Yeah, we're not judging them, but yeah. So, like that was one thing.
We've given up Easter. We've given up Mother's
Yeah,
Day. We've
right.
given up and those are things I regret in life.
You do,
Big time. That there's conversations I had. Well, sorry, I can't be there.
sure.
I got to work.
Right.
Hey, we got this going on. I got to be here.
I always try to make it a point, and we do this in our restaurant group, where if you get Thanksgiving off, you might work Christmas Eve. Everyone gets a holiday.
Yeah.
So, but
I've been told I'm a bad mom
Well,
because
wait,
I
no.
worked on holidays.
Hold on, Tara. You're done talking right now. I will say that. So, like
drink some of my coffee real
Gonna
quick.
need some more time.
my
I
family,
need that gin now.
Yeah.
my family
How many
tradition
episodes do we get?
for always was Christmas Eve. Like Christmas Eve was the big day for us, and so my brother was a chef, and I was front of the house management, and so we hit that
In
point.
the same place?
No. God no. But we hit that point where my mom's like, I'm hosting this dinner for 30 something people and my own fucking kids aren't here. Like, we're done. And we had to change like our family traditions because of the fact that we were both in the industry. Go ahead. You can talk
we
now.
moved to Remus.
Yeah.
Because my sisters didn't want to drive on Christmas.
Okay, see, that's different. It was because we had no choice. We had to work. So that's a little different.
I'm the youngest. I didn't get a voice.
Oh boy.
I wasn't part of that choice. I got it. Sorry.
I feel like we're unboxing a lot of therapy.
There's a
real quick.
lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
We're gonna bring this back to
Wait,
the podcast.
we haven't even talked about that.
We're not going to.
Like, you don't need you don't need therapists. You go to
No, I
restaurants.
highly recommend.
You
10 out of-
share your
No.
problems.
Here's the thing: I am in
With
therapy.
other dysfunctional fucks.
Correct. That are going
Yeah.
to judge you.
that are who gives a shit? They're there just as screwed up as you are.
Yeah, but at least I can admit that I go to therapy. Like, I need a professional.
We know. Oh, I'm sorry.
I work alone, Batman. Okay, I don't need a sidekick here. Okay,
No,
I highly
I
recommend.
was like, this is
there are-
Christo your sidekick?
No, there are a lot of. I think that. I think if you're going to be in the industry, there are many vices you can get involved with out there that are very unhealthy. That I recommend 10 out of 10 seeing a therapist for the $25 a week.
I think I would destroy that person.
the therapist.
Yeah, like if I
You guys
started
should- you guys should
unbagging
see if you
all
can
of
get a
my
I
two
think
for
stuff.
that's
one.
their job.
You can get a 2-for-1 for you two.
Oh my God, there's not enough time.
I'm not going to therapy with you.
I know someone that actually their therapist quit. They stopped practicing after a while. They were like, "This is a lot. Like we didn't cover. Like there should be a like." I was talking. Who was I talking to?
Should we have a team meeting? Do family therapy
there's
together?
somebody that works for us that is
How does
going
that make you feel?
going to school for therapy or to be a therapist, whatever. It's a degree, allegedly.
What do you mean allegedly?
But I said if you just focused on the hospitality, you would retire by the time you're like 40.
Oh God, yeah. Well, if you didn't quit before then.
Right. But like
You would need Xanax. You would need
to give out.
You'd need a bottle
for
of
yourself.
gin
Oh, for yourself.
to kind of get through it.
Yeah.
To listen to some of the shit that we deal with.
Yeah.
That would be the Bailey's.
But I
and
will
Bobby.
say that I will say that
You guys didn't.
there is
do
nobody
cannabis.
there is nobody in the industry that I would there's
I
no
did.
one I'd rather be going through the shit I go through in life than people that I work with.
Yeah.
Like we've all been therapists to each other.
Well,
I
There are
think
some-
that's
there are
part
some
of the
dark
reason
days.
why we have the relationships that we do because we go through so much shit together, and you know, it's kind of like going into battle together. Like you got to be able to trust the person next to you.
I mean, there's some people that I don't trust and they can go in front of me in the battle.
I've got my list. You want to talk about my
She
list? I got my list.
I slowly back into the bushes like Homer Simpson. Like you go first.
I got a few of those.
Yeah.
We all do. But no, I think the ones that you get closest to, and like that's kind of the point. Like Tara and I have known each other now for 14 years, 13 years.
No, that's almost 10. Or wait,
No, it's
no,
over
that's
10.
right. It was
Yeah. 'cause
12 or 13.
Well,
I
real
met-
quick.
I was
Where did you guys meet?
getting married,
No,
and
no,
she
no.
fired my soon-to-be husband.
I did.
Were you invited to
But-
the wedding still?
No,
I didn't think so.
That's
That
a different
you
story.
fired him?
I did. I did.
Can we not? Oh, but he brought me to meet her.
Yeah, because even so, okay. So the way this story plays out
Dinner was okay.
is there was a possibility
I
for
remember
all
what
of us to get fired, and instead it was him. So I lived another day, but we still had a good relationship, and you know we opened a
So
restaurant
says
together.
you
No, we still talk. We're fine. He showed up at the Homestead opening. He's good.
because of Tara.
No, because of me. Actually, I was the one who texted him. She was like, "Did you do that?" I'm like, "I did. I'm sorry."
That poor bastard.
Yeah, it was me. But no, I will say, like, you know, we opened a restaurant together, and you guys know, like, when you're doing a restaurant opening, you guys have talked about this, and you know, some of your other podcasts. It's all encompassing. It's, you know, it's well beyond 12-hour days. It's more like 14, 16, 18-hour days, and you are in that person's business because you guys are spending so much time together. And Larry and I opened a restaurant together, so we got to be really close. And, you know, when that decision was made, it was not personal. And we maintained a friendship, obviously, because he brought Tara in to meet me, which was cool. I got to know her. And then I went and worked for a different company.
She said I was hot.
I did. I was actually floored when he brought her in. I was like, what is wrong with this woman? Why is she here?
She's clearly in the industry. She needs therapy.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
But then a few years later, I was going to take a new job, and he called me up out of the blue and he goes, "So you applied for this job?" And I'm like, "Are you stalking me? Like, how do you know that?" And he's like, my ex-wife works there. And I was like, oh, okay.
No, I think I was his current wife at the time.
No, you guys were going through the divorce at that point.
Oh, okay.
It was like in the midst.
Yeah,
of
and
it.
I just walked downstairs to HR and I was like, oh, hi. Yeah, you should hire her.
Yeah.
And then I walked upstairs.
So I don't know if I should, thank her for that or curse her out. But
I had a great time there.
It was an experience for sure.
Before we go into the next segment, which is wrapping up this podcast, I want to mention how fun it's been here with you both.
Thanks,
and
guys.
More so watching you guys fidget with the microphone.
I'm sorry.
We've never had this.
Yeah.
Dude,
issue.
The microphone falls, the
told
microphone
you.
goes up. I say speak into it. I say speak out of it.
It's not what's natural to me for
This
sure.
is the only time Tex and
asking me
Christo
to
have
sit
ever said
still
speak.
for this long is kind of like my personal hell, just so we're clear.
Yeah, perfect. You wanna take us to the next?
Yeah, so I got something for you guys. We're gonna lighten the mood a little bit.
We
We're
are.
very serious today,
Yeah.
and we
All
appreciate it. But we do a little thing on here called the 86 list.
Yeah.
I'm sure Beth has seen it. Tara is just happy to be here. She didn't know
She's
what a
like,
pod-
someone invited me to
Yeah.
something.
She didn't know what a podcast was up until about 45 minutes ago.
That's not true. I listen to my conspiracy.
She was like, "Is this a Vine video? Are you guys
Yeah.
making a
Very
Vine
excited.
for your MySpace?"
So basically, for Tara, 86, you know what it means.
The word.
We're
term.
out of it. We're out of something in the restaurant, correct?
That's what the term means. We're
yeah,
86.
but the way you described this was something that infuriates me.
Where it's
I want everybody to stop ordering size medium nitrile gloves. I have tiny hands and I need a large or an extra large. So I get pissed off when you put on these gloves and they rip.
so you want an 86, the size
They're
medium?
small and medium shouldn't even exist. We're not hiring 11-year-olds. Like it doesn't happen. Just get the large and the extra large, the blue ones, not the like.
The black ones?
The
No,
black
the
ones.
cheap
The
ones
black ones
that
are
Tex
fine.
started making us order, the
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 Subway
deli
gloves.
ones.
Yeah, you know why?
I actually like those
go-
because I don't have to. They don't break on me right away.
I don't even get me started. The gloves that people, I don't really use gloves because I believe in washing one's hands more so than I've seen people wash the gloves they have on their hands.
Yeah, but
Okay, that's
you're
weird.
allowed to do that.
No, you're not.
No, you're
that's-
not.
No. You are allowed. You're in the kitchen and it's you and your fancy.
What are you doing in the front of the house? You need gloves.
when I have to come help your ass?
When's the last time? Number one,
Actually, you've
could be a
never
cold
done
day.
that to me.
I would be clearly
Oh, I'm
met.
sorry.
When's the last time I asked you to
Christo.
cook?
How many times
Let's
have
talk
I had
about
to cook
Berkshire.
in the last couple
but
years?
why can't you just wash your hands and your hands are clean? Why do you need the gloves?
It depends on what I'm touching.
Why can't you just wash it? I'm not telling you.
Sometimes I just don't want to
Just don't
touch
wash-
it.
I'm not telling you to
when
pick
you have
up
the gloves on.
feces.
For the record, the gloves are required for
Yes.
ready-to-eat foods
Sure.
Yes.
under the city of
Yes.
Chicago.
Correct.
health
Great.
code
And the day
law.
you run for
And-
politics, that can be your platform.
There
For
it
the
is.
record.
No, my
I
platform
don't
will be.
Tex is the first chef in the last couple of years to not make me cook. For the
He's-
record,
Well, no,
He's my
technically
boss,
he has
who
because
therefore made
Yeah.
you cook.
that's true.
all these he didn't even know I could.
No, he did.
I just don't believe. I believe people's
Thanks.
hands are
I'm saying
much.
thanks.
You're welcome. I believe people's hands
He's
are
like,
much
"Get off the bread
filthier
table."
when people get pretty much when they use gloves.
I agree.
And so,
Yeah,
so don't.
it's a
So I'm
crutch.
going
I
to
agree
buy.
with
So
you.
going
I
back
agree
to
with
Beth's
you.
point, I'm going to buy the cheap gloves so that people will use them and throw them away rather quickly. And I rather spend the money on toilet paper.
I really like the cheap gloves because they fit my tiny hands. I do like them. I appreciate them.
Medium and small.
Yeah,
Coming from the
They're
5'4".
I don't
She's
know.
not even 5'4".
What are you, Tara?
I'm
I'll tell
I
you.
am 5'4". I'm just getting a little hunched over.
She's seeing a chiropractor,
I am
Beth.
seeing a chiropractor now.
Tomorrow.
All right. Now that we've 86 some small and medium gloves, Beth, what do you got for us?
The word demure. That's
Not
for Christo.
emotional.
It's
not
because you're
aggressive,
not demure.
No, it's because if you look that word up in the dictionary,
Tell us what it means.
it is used to describe women as being shy, modest, and polite.
Is this like moist?
And I feel like that's some bullshit, right? Like, why is there not a word like that to describe men? So why? Just why?
I've described men as demure.
And no, I'm not demure.
Beth, I will allow you to do this, but I just need everybody to know that I think it's fucking hilarious.
Where did this come from?
It wasn't
Because I-
emotional.
Christo's been
I
yelling
told
at me
her
all
that
week that
because
I'm
it's
not
like-
demure.
She's not demure. She's a fucking bulldog.
Jesus.
She
That's
will fucking go. Like when Beth's mad or Beth, I just get out of the fucking way. Or-
You get off on it though.
Me?
When I get mad, you're
Well,
like,
when you
"Yeah,
get
girl."
mad, I was like, you go. When you yelled at
I
me to
always
move
get the
those
text
tables that one day,
message.
I was like, yes.
Would the word that
That's
you
weird
were
that-
saying the word that would describe me? Would the word regal work?
For you?
No, not for me. You were saying.
Obviously not for you.
Yeah, really. Thank you. I'm gonna fuck
You're
myself. real
Regal
quick.
is royalty. Demure is
no, it is not. Royal is royal.
No, but Regal is still too.
Regal.
It's
They
like
are
that.
regal.
Yeah.
In our industry,
peacock is
saying
regal.
nobody
you're saying
is
Queen-
ever
you're
going to
saying-
use
okay.
the word
You're saying
demure.
Queen Elizabeth. You're saying Queen Elizabeth
They're
wasn't
going to
demure.
say aggressive.
But how does that
They're
have to?
gonna
No,
say
demure is something
emotional.
totally
Bulldog.
different. I think my issue
Yeah. What's the issue with the
demure
word? Yeah.
is the fact that it's used to only describe women. Like there's no demure men, which is bullshit.
Well, now that I have to use the word, I'm going to
the
describe
fact
a
that
lot of men as demure.
the fact that I keep getting yelled at because I'm not, and I'm like, why do I have to be?
Who's yelling at you for not being demure?
Christo.
Did they use that word?
Christo.
Beth, we were going through a security checkpoint, and I thought that the fucking tires were going to come off.
DNC, ladies and gentlemen, it was great.
Like the guy was like, "Oh,
You
first
weren't
of all, she
nice
goes
to a security checkpoint?
not
No, I
security
was very
checkpoint, it's a
nice.
secret
Common
fucking
sense.
service."
I was
Tara.
I
know.
very,
I like them.
I was very nice. I was just,
They're like, "Turn the car off, ma'am, so we can check it." So she turns
You
the car
told
off
Secret Service no.
and then didn't put the car in
So why-
fucking park.
You should be in like a basement prison right now.
I made it through. I kept my personality, and I made some jokes with
You
them. They were
yelled
good.
at a security.
I did not yell at
Oh.
them. I did take this speed bump at like maybe
I think
30.
Well, you are an aggressive driver.
Backing up.
And then
I
she's
won't
like,
get in a
"I
car
got
with
3
her."
claims. I wonder why."
Backing up real quick. I don't think you were using the word correctly.
Yeah. I don't think anybody in our industry
It's
should be using
because
the word
we were
demure.
talking about. I said, "Beth, have you seen this? We're making conversation.
You've
You've
Okay.
seen
been
this thing
learning word of the
online,
day or
right?"
something?
And I just go,
Like, what's going
I go, trying to expand my vocabulary, guys. Okay. And
I
I
don't
was
think that was the word to
and I
expand
was
it on.
describing it to her, and she's like, "Haha, what the fuck is this?" Blah 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 blah. And then we hit the fucking speed bump.
Sure.
Okay, it wasn't even a speed bump; it was a security gate that said "stop." That came down, and
So
Beth
basically,
was like, "Let's go."
You were just asking her to not kill you.
yeah, I was like,
That's a
"Chill."
little
Okay,
different.
but to be clear, this then escalated beyond this, and then him and Sarah were having a conversation about it, and it just kept getting thrown around. And I'm like, no, I don't like this word. This word's stupid. We're 86.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's fair. Like you and I have very different personalities,
We
very
do.
different
Are
management
you sure?
styles.
Are you sure?
Are you saying no that Tara doesn't?
No, I'm saying that they're both very similar.
Oh, I don't think so.
No,
No,
I don't think so either.
Mm-mm.
All right, Christo, I got to ask, why are we similar in text? Why don't you think so?
they're just they are very similar. They do have some differences. Like Tara, less of a bulldog.
Wow.
Okay.
See, but that's just it. I just have a different approach.
Yes,
That's not.
but like you
but
guys
that's not,
are very
that's not
similar.
fair to either of us to be. Oh, because it's just.
If you're talking about management styles, it is
Yeah.
very similar. She's got a
No,
shorter
it is
fuse.
not.
She's got a shorter fuse though.
It is not.
I think that's the misunderstanding. I think.
You think you have a shorter fuse?
No, I think I would.
Well,
Tara's gotten, I think, with age.
Who
and
is
with
more demure?
experience-
That's what we got to talk
No,
about right
fuck,
now.
fuck that word.
well,
Like,
I've
nobody's
said it.
demure.
Like, if you tell me
You're more
like I'm
demure.
heated or I'm
I'm
mad,
definitely more demure
when
than
I'm
the both
just
of you.
like in get it done mode, I can speak to that and be like, really? You think I'm being emotional or angry? No, we got shit to do. That means you're not working. You're busy looking at me, being like, she's being mean today.
No, man, I was getting ready
Then
to
you
leave.
got time on your fucking
I was getting
hands.
ready to leave, and you're like, "I need you to flip this room," and I said, "Oh fuck, okay, here we
To
go."
wrap this up before we really end this, we want to play a game.
Okay.
You guys get to tell us the 10 best spots for smoke breaks in the industry.
Ooh. Are we talking about just at our
It's not
company?
really a game. It's just a funny
No,
thing.
just in your longevity career, the top.
Well,
10.
I think you need to like a smoke break
dude,
is
no,
a
no.
couple things.
This is-
it's
this-
time alone.
But this is easy.
just pick
The
10.
number one spot is the back alley at Berkshire Room.
Okay, back alley. Okay, 9. So we have 9 left.
Burke,
Burke.
writing it down.
So my other favorite spot, but see, none of these places exist anymore. But it was the Six Corners in Wicker Park, still Milwaukee North and
Yeah.
Damon.
6
I-
corners,
I
Wicker
agree
Park.
with you on
Okay, we don't need a soliloquy about each one. We're just gonna go through 10.
Well,
Yes,
it's like
Jared.
where can you hide?
So we need 8 more.
Rush is that Rush Street or Wabash? That's Wabash outside of Pizzeria Uno, or do I? It's the Uno.
Yeah.
You got to be across the street. It looks like you're in full view of everybody, yet it's the back door to that one company.
Okay.
I know exactly
the
what
back
she's talking
alley
about.
behind Michigan Avenue, in between Randolph and Adams Street.
No,
Like,
you know what? La Briola's there now. And if you go down those steps, that weird, like where the street like goes under a bridge.
Yeah.
So you've named 5 locations in the city. What about like
None of which are like
5 places like around
You got really excited about that last one, though.
That one's
around a
cool.
restaurant, like the back alley, you know.
Oh,
I
you mean
think
in a restaurant?
Well,
In a restaurant,
okay,
yeah.
like where we go.
Like,
now,
where do you go so your boss doesn't
Not
fire
necessarily.
you
Exactly.
for chain
Not
smoking like a
necessarily.
lunatic?
No, but I think that's kind of the point. Like how we go now, like we go out and then we go like
The
around
guys
the
that are
corner on
running
the
a
cement
Russian mob
blocks.
thing around
Yeah.
the corner.
Like that's the best. Like anywhere where no one can find you easily. That's the best.
Well,
spot
and
to
I think
smoke.
that's like if I get followed, I get mad.
Yeah.
Like I'm not there to smoke with
like
you.
I need that's my
that's my alone
time
time.
out. When I quit smoking for a little while in the industry, I started washing dishes, and my team knew like if I'm in the dish pit, don't talk to
I
me.
had the same. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, so the consensus is anywhere you can't be found.
100%.
That just names them all. Perfect.
There it is.
Yeah,
Well-
just it's a hiding situation.
Hiding. Thank you very much
Thanks,
for
guys.
joining us. This was invigorating.
This was something.
Yeah,
I feel like we missed a lot of things.
This was very demure.
There's more to say on this.
We started
there
off.
was totally-
We started off very demure
We did.
and did not finish demure.
I mean, I'm gonna say that
I
this kind
hate
of
this
went
word.
exactly as I expected it to. So expectations were met.
All I know is that Christo will have a lot of editing to do.
Oh, 100%.
Wait,
Yes.
you never answered how Beth and I are different.
I did. Our management styles, I think, are different. I think.
I mean, I know. I
Who's
just
more-
wanted to hear what you
Who's
said.
the most demure person?
between the two of you,
Yeah.
Tara.
Tara,
Wait, you
I mean,
didn't have to answer
Why is
that
that
so quickly.
demure?
I didn't
Tara,
have to
Why
do
is
it.
that demure?
you're just more demure.
I don't think.
Just your persona.
See,
Like,
this
if
is
you
why
were
we,
to-
this
if
is
you
why
were
we
to
need to
use
86 this
demure-
word.
If you were to,
No,
if I had to compare, like if I were to do this
Is that 'cause
comparison,
I had to wear a dress all summer?
this is not a dig at all, right? What I'm going to say now is not a dig, but just in my mind, what
Oh,
I see,
boy.
right? If I were to compare Tara to Beth, it would be like Tara is kind of like a gazelle, like
Oh, I'm graceful.
graceful, like leaping,
Wow, I am not liking where this is going.
leaping through the natural habitat.
Definitely not liking where this is going.
Beth is a bull in a china shop.
You know, I take offense when you guys tell me this on a regular basis.
But here's the
I will
thing.
say this. This is also why I sit at a table with all men.
But it's not a dig. I don't think it's a dig. I
No,
think,
dude, I take it's a
I
badge
think-
of honor.
No, because you don't have to have the conversations. I do. Like it's not taken for granted that you're gonna take care of what needs to get done.
Correct.
Whereas I have to have weird conversations where I have to explain what I think for 25 minutes.
No, I've actually been told by our boss that I'm a little too direct, which is hurtful.
No, that's not hurtful.
I think it is.
I don't think that. I don't want to keep talking right now.
Well, before this turns into the Tara
right,
Beth
all right, all
podcast,
right.
before we all have to answer for crimes,
yeah.
thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks,
thank you,
guys.
thank
We
you.
hope you guys had some fun.
We did. Are you regretting your decision?
No,
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 not,
we
not
don't.
one bit.
Don't live in regrets. Never, never. Do you want to take us home? Or want me to take us home?
You take us home. You've been doing a lot of talking today. It's been great.
I'm a
And in a
gazelle.
good way. In a good way. I let you do your thing today. You were doing great. I just let you go.
I just feel like you didn't want to interrupt them. You were afraid that Beth was probably going to just like throw the
I-
microphone at you.
She would have like, shut up.
Yeah.
I have thrown things at Beth
yes.
She has streamers.
and
Perfect.
Krista.
Can you guys let me wrap this up? Perfect.
Are we
Well-
going to lunch after this? I'm hungry now.
No, we don't have that in the budget for sure.
You
Well,
don't- the big guy, does he have a card?
she's never going to let me wrap this up. This is going sideways. If you
Thank
would
you
like,
for not saying the word off track.
yes, well, we're there.
But you didn't say it. and
I didn't.
appreciate
If
it.
you would like to follow us, please follow us on Instagram at Chef May Call Podcast, on TikTok at Chef May Call Podcast. And if you would like to watch this shit show happening live, not live, but if you'd like to watch it, you can follow us on YouTube. Click the subscribe button. Beth just did it today, so we're up to 13. It really helps the algorithm. We might continue to do this. This might not be a one season kind of thing. We'll see where this goes. But thanks very much for having us.
They
Thanks,
can come see us
guys.
at work like everybody else does.
I mean, that's true too.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good one.
Or
Bye, guys.
we're cutting you guys off.